Of all the family, I believe I'm the youngest. My sister probably is the second youngest. My father was the youngest in his family. So Vincent Isnardi's mother is one of my father's older sisters, and Vincent was her son. All of our cousins on that side of the family were much older than us. For example, Vincent was 21 when I was born, so he was either just finishing college or out of college. So we didn't get to know our cousins all that well because they were so much older, as opposed to my mother's side of the family. The cousins were all the same age, and we spent summers together and all that sort of thing. So I have aunts and uncles on that side of the family, but some were living north in Lodi, and of course some living in Fresno, and some living in the Bay Area around San Francisco. So they were far away, and back in those days you didn't do that much traveling. And of course my father, we were living 60 miles south of Fresno, so we didn't see the family all that much. And my grandfather and Vincent's grandfather was 86 when I died. So he was about 74 years old when I was born. So I really didn't get to know my grandfather all that well. My grandmother died earlier, so I can barely remember her. And that's pretty much what I can remember about the family, because we weren't that close because we were so spread out and far apart. I just have one sister. Vincent had no brothers or sisters, no siblings at all. And my father's brother Ralph, who was worked for the Public Works Department in Fresno, he had 2 children. And then I had one of the aunts who lived in Lodi, had 2 children. One was, and again, they were older. One was killed in the Korean War. He was a fighter pilot, and his plane crashed and he was killed. And then his sister became very well known in and around San Francisco, because she became a chef and wrote cooking books and had I guess, radio series, but I really didn't know her either. Well, I was born in Fresno, as was my sister, and we were small children when we moved to Strathmore, which is south of Fresno, about 60 miles. Some people may not even know where it is. My sister and I were raised in that small rural community and went to school there. And then I guess because of our association with Fresno, my sister, who was 3 years older than me, she went to Fresno State and became a school teacher. And then I went to Fresno State. And when I was finished with school, I went into the Army. I was in the infantry for a short while, and then I moved to San Francisco, and that's where I started my business career, as it were. So we had, on my mother's side of the family, a lot of people living in Fresno, cousins, and I used to spend a couple of weeks every summer in Fresno, visiting with my aunt and uncle and my 2 cousins, Danny and Virginia Jordana. And there was also my cousin Aldo Marchocki, whose mother was Aunt Nancy, who was my mother's sister. So that's really about it. We grew up on a farmland, and I worked in the fields, and I worked in the packing houses, and I worked doing whatever I could do, picking fruit. We all did that in the summers, smudging oranges in the wintertime, and just had a great life. It was a perfect life, really. Well, when I went to San Francisco, it was, I had a college professor at Fresno State who for some reason thought I was a good student, and he was, and I worked in the retail business in Fresno. I was in a men's clothing store at the Varsity Shop at the time, which was one of the better men's stores in town. And I liked the retail business, and so my professor knew that, and he had connections with the Emporium, Capwell in San Francisco, who had a major department store at the time. And so I went to work up there in their management training program. I worked 10 years for them, and I left the retail business and got into the wholesale distribution business with McKesson Corporation. And then from there I was, headhunter found me and convinced me to go to work for the County of San Mateo, and I was their purchasing manager until I retired in 2013. Well, Vincent Isnardi was someone who at the time, again, he was close to my father and my sister, but I was always so far removed that I wasn't very close with him, even though I would see him from time to time. But apparently he was someone who believed in philanthropy of various types, and so he used to, on his own, make donations to various organizations in Fresno. And the first story I heard about Vincent was that he had donated money to, I think it must have been the blood bank, I'm not sure, where he purchased a blood mobile for them so they could travel around and collect blood from people. And then I know that he made some personal donations to Heinz Hospice, and why he had the feelings for the blood and the Heinz Hospice, probably because of his background as being a pharmacist and being connected to those kinds of organizations. And so Vincent, in the early 2000s, Vincent at some point decided he needed to have a means to leave his holdings behind and to have them used for charitable purposes. So he formed the Isnardi Foundation, and in 2006 it became a reality, and at that point he had several people on his board of directors. And I think by the end of the first year he invited my sister to also become a director. So she was involved in that part of it. I wasn't. Everything I know about it was because I have all the minutes and all the records from that period. So I've read them and I sort of get a sense of what happened in their meetings, of what they, how they operated and who was on the actual board of directors. And I think the first big donation was made to the blood bank when they built a new facility. I know Vincent had donated $1 million to them so that they could build their laboratory for testing. And in fact, his name is now on the doors as you enter into that area. You'll see the Isnardi Foundation's name at the blood bank. And I retired in 2013. And at that point they had lost a member, or were thinking about protecting themselves for the future. So I was invited to become a board member. And most of my first year I was a non-voting board member, but I was a board member and sat in the meetings and provided input and gave my opinions, which sometimes are the kinds of opinions that people don't like to hear, but I give them anyway. So since 2013, I've been on the board of directors, and we've developed more of a professional organization where we have a website, we have a process of dealing with anyone that wants to apply for money. We have rules and regulations that they must follow. We have, at the time when I was on the board, they weren't open to the general population of nonprofits. They were sort of selecting the people that they would support, but then we opened it up to the whole community, and now anybody can submit a request for funding. We don't fund everybody that requests money, but we try to, based on the amount of money we have available each year, we try to fund everyone as much as we can. And that's how we became involved with the museum and the cultural exhibits. We fund a lot of groups. We fund, of course, Heinz Hospice, which I've mentioned, Poverello House, Exceptional Parents Unlimited, Marjorie Mason, Community Medical Center, Children's Hospital, and then quite a few of the smaller nonprofits that really are the ones that I feel need the most support because they have less money, but yet they have a lot of services that they provide. And it's difficult to do unless you're funded. We've had organizations that need to have their buildings remodeled, to have their buildings painted, to have their buildings furnished. Their warehouses, we provided cooling for warehouses, storage for warehouses. Central California Food Bank is one of our grantees, and we support them actually fully, and for everything they've requested, we provided for them. Marjorie Mason, which is an excellent grantee of ours, and we're all very, very supportive of that organization. My sister found them. There was an article in the Fresno Bee, and I was down for a visit for, I think, my second board meeting, and she showed me the article, and she says, "Is this an organization that you think we could support?" And I read the article, and I said, "It sure sounds like it." So she contacted Marjorie Mason and asked them to submit a grant request, which they did, and we've been supporting them ever since. So, you know, and within the community, the nonprofit community, it seems like their communication with each other is very effective, and they make recommendations to other nonprofits who are searching for funding, and they'll tell them about us, and then if they contact me, which I'm generally the only public contact for the foundation, they contact me and I tell them that they should go to our website and it'll spell out everything, and then if they still have questions, and then they should contact me again, and I'll communicate with them on that. But when I first joined the foundation, they didn't reach out to the whole community, and so one of the first things that we did, and I recommended it, in fact I had to do it, was to contact various organizations within Fresno and Fresno County area. And I sat down every year for 2 years, and I wrote letters to all of these people that I could find, asking them to submit a grant request that we could consider for funding. And they did, and then to eliminate that sort of hands-on each year, we created the website. And I worked with a wonderful woman up in Mendocino, and she created the website, and we've been using that ever since. In fact, one of the ways that the Historical Society and the cultural exhibits were funded through us is through a recommendation, as you know, from one organization to the other. So we had, one other thing I might mention that we've supported is it's something very interesting, is the Fresno Rescue Mission, who is building a 200,000 square foot facilities in the center of Fresno on Dakota, I think. They are housing, have offices for a lot of nonprofits where they can work, and they're providing food and shelter for a lot of people. And it's something I'd recommend that everybody go and see, because it's going to turn out to be really a positive thing for the city of Fresno. And they're building an apartment building to house people that are in transition from drugs and alcohol and crime and other issues in their life. And we've provided a significant amount of funding so that they can furnish those apartments. Well, I think the foundation is, we're financially stable. We don't solicit any donations from outside people like most nonprofits do. All of the money that's derived is all from the investments that are made with the money that our foundation has. And then each year we have to donate, by law, a minimum amount of money, which is equivalent to 5% of our value on the beginning of the year. So that's how we derive the minimum amount of money that we have to fund each year with different organizations. The organization, I think we're going to have to work to develop a larger board, because we've lost 2 members. One who did resign and one who died a couple of years ago. And so we're going to have to find replacements for them, so that when myself and my sister and Andy Bedoyan, who's the other board member, are no longer on the board, we have people that are there to keep the process moving and to develop, hopefully more money and greater funding in the future. Well, I think that the Italian cultural exhibit was extremely well done. We didn't know in the very beginning, the first time that we provided funding, exactly what it was going to be in the end, but we're all very, very pleased to see what was done, the effort that was put in by so many people. As you know, it took hours and hours of research and building the ideas on the ideas that were created, and we're all really, really pleased with it. The coin sitting here at my right is, of course, going to be in the exhibit, and we're bound to determine and find more history regarding that, so that another story can be told. I know that I've met a lot of nice people for working with that cultural exhibit. And of course, we have the Esnardi Foundation has a list of things that we support that Vincent Esnardi created, the list. And one of the things is Italian heritage. That's how we got involved in the cultural exhibit, because of the fact that that's one of our missions, is to support that. When I got onto the board, we didn't have one organization that was Italian that we were supporting. But one of the organizations that I got in touch with very early was the Sons of Italy. And I discovered that they have a scholarship fund for anybody who is of Italian heritage. So we started funding their scholarship fund, and we've paid for all of the college expenses for, I think now, 9 students who were able to go to school and graduate and have no debt. They could start their life, debt-free, and hopefully be more successful. and more happy in their lives. So that's been a wonderful experience, and of course that ties in with the cultural exhibit, because I know the Sons of Italy helped provide a lot of information, and I don't know, maybe some artifacts that could be shown in the exhibit. But between the two organizations, I've met a lot of wonderful people. In fact, I commented at the grand opening of the cultural exhibit that I'd never been around so many Italians in my life in one place, so at one time. So that was a lot of fun. It's been a great experience in working with the museum. They've been really wonderful. I think the important for the fact that we try as best we can to support all the people in the Fresno community that we can, and I think we've made a real difference. I know in a lot of people's lives.